Well, we know that an Iraqi court has been reported as having overturned the conviction of the British geologist. He was wrongfully jailed for antiquities smuggling, his lawyers said. AFP news agency said that Jim Fitton had that sentence overturned. He'd been sentenced originally to 15 years in prison because he'd been on a trip to Iraq where he had taken back some elements, shards of pottery with him. Now, he'd been under the impression, his family say, that they were of no value, and he'd apparently even asked permission to take them with him, according to members of the family. However, there was a law introduced in the early 21st century in Iraq that said that smuggling such antiquities out of the country could actually could result in a death penalty. And he was tried on that basis. And of course, they gave him 15 years in prison as opposed to the death penalty because of his age, they said. So the family have been disputing that ever since. And they've kept quite a low profile because they said they didn't want to inflame any tensions in Iraq, but they have been campaigning quietly for this to be overturned, and now they have announced that it has been overturned. They're still saying they don't want to give a formal interview until he's back in the country, perhaps wisely saying that they don't know how quickly things will move, or indeed if they'll go as expected, even though he's now had that sentence overturned altogether.
Yeah, understandable, Jonathan. Do you have any idea if the British government might have intervened here? Is this similar of the case of the dual British-Iranian national who was held in Iran?
Well, Iran, of course, does take political prisoners as leverage. And in that case, Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, who was released recently as a result of negotiations between the UK and Iran, was released when Britain did repay a massive debt that it had owed Iran for several decades. This is somewhat different. But of course, the British Foreign Office does indeed campaign, and the government, to get those released from jail abroad who it feels are wrongly imprisoned. And again, he did fall into this category. So there will have been some negotiations and some discussion going forward. Obviously, I was in touch with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office today. They haven't released a statement to me yet, but the family have said that they're very grateful, and so is their local MP, for the actions of the government who played a part in this, they say. And so, of course, we'll wait and see when he gets back if there's more to the story that's released in terms of exactly why the family maybe believe that he was put in prison in the first place, if there was more of a political angle to it, or if in fact it was just some sort of question of error in their justice system with this very, very harsh law in place that could result, as I said, in a death penalty for those who are deemed to be smuggling out antiquities. And the reason, incidentally, these shards that he took out were said to have been caught in that definition was because they were over 100 or 200 years old, and therefore they were potentially classified as rare antiquities. But again, the family have always insisted that he was innocent. They've always pursued a complete overturn of the sentence. In fact, they had a very well-supported petition to get him out as well.
A source of relief for the family, I'm sure. Jonathan, thank you very much indeed. Jonathan Sacerdoti there in London.